A very good morning to you in Colombia and El Salvador. Good afternoon in Yemen, Cameroon, and Stockholm. And warmly welcome to all of you wherever you are in the world joining us for this webinar. Before we start, I want to inform you about the possibility for simultaneous translation. English and Spanish is available, and it's provided by Interprefy. And we invite you to access their web app, or will you see the link there now in the screen? You can download their app on your device and join our translation audio channels with the token Glocal Voices 1203. You see it on the screen now. Well, my name is Ingrid Sivert Udén. I am the Deputy Secretary General at Forum Civ, and I am very honored to be moderating this for 2021 first webinar of Glocal Voices. This webinar is part of our Women for Change Week that we at Forum Civ have organized to commemorate the International Women's Day. Forum Civ is a platform for civil society in Sweden. We gather 150 civil society organizations as our members. The combined work of all of us reaches all corners of the world in the strive for justice, equity, and equality. Through the work, we know very well what role women play for development, for working for peace, and for change. With the idea of bringing local voices to a global context, the webinar series Glocal Voices gathers civil society actors from around the world. The webinars are launched throughout the year to promote experience exchange and knowledge sharing within civil society. The aim is, of course, that we can help each other and be guided by each other's experiences when we face similar challenges. Right now, very much the pandemic, of course, but also things like gender-based violence, violation of human rights, how we can better empower youth, migration and development, amongst other things. I am very pleased to be joined today by four very interesting panelists. Warm welcome to Samah Youssef from Yemen, to Sarah Garcia from El Salvador, to Natalia Torres from Colombia, and Bong Justin from Cameroon. We're going to start this webinar by 3 rounds of questions to each and every panelist. And I kindly ask the panelists, of course, to be concise and focus on the most important issues in order for us to together be successful with our time management. I will also make sure to distribute the word as equally as possible. Following the round of questions, our panelists will have the possibility to ask each other a question. And then we will finish the webinar by allowing our viewers, all of you, to pose questions or give comments. You will be able to use the chat box in our streaming through Facebook Live or YouTube. So let's get started and focus on the strategies that our panelists' respective organizations are using to challenge gender bias, gender inequalities, and gender-based violence. The first question that is going out to our panelists is, what are the main challenges facing women to access and enjoy their rights in your local context? I would like to start with Samah Youssef in Yemen, joining us from Aden. Samah, I know that you are
welcome.
Very nice to have you with us. Samah, you have a master. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm very happy to join you.
Thank you. I want to introduce you just before you start answering. And I want to say that Samah has a master's degree in gender studies from the University of Aden. And you are the chairwoman of Mawada Association for Society Development, which is a local nonprofit organization working to enhance the role of women in youth in working for peace and development. So, very welcome, Samah. And
welcome.
Please let us hear your view about the main challenges for women to access their rights in your local context in Yemen.
Yeah. So I will talk about 2 points in general. The first point is the humanitarian situation for women in Yemen. The humanitarian situation is very, very hard for women in Yemen. Especially, we are living in continue wars since 3 years, 6 years ago. So this war, it's damaged all the service, all the buildings in this city. So women, they have no access for the main basic service in this society. Women, they are suffering to have the most simple services like electricity, water, internet, and even the food. The income of a family in Yemen in a month, it is less than $100, and even they cannot get it. So the humanitarian situation is a very, very, very bad in this time exactly. But about the about the gender-based violence, it is because of the war also increase, and it is becomes very, very high. So we can say that the freedom for women, it is not available now. They cannot have their right. About the second point, I want to talk about the participation of women in the positions and the leadership situations in the government. We all know now in the new government of Yemen that we have zero participation of women in the government. This is a very shame that we all say in Yemen that we can face like this point in the government. So as we all know, in the 2014, uh, in 2014, when we had the national dialogue, the women in Yemen, they participated by 30% for women in the national dialogue. It was the golden period for women. But after that, we see the participation for women is zero. Even in the negotiation for peace building in Stockholm and everywhere, it is zero participation. We call for international and UN pressure to involve women in the peace building process and the negotiation, like what happened in the national dialogue. Because without this pressure, we cannot find any chance to participation in the leader positions in the negotiation for peace, which is very important to have peace in Yemen. In general, women always they are the main decision maker for war. So we believe that involving women inside the negotiation, inside the government, inside anywhere, they can reduce the decision taking for war. So this is our hope in Yemen. We want a lot of pressure about this participation.
Very, very relevant, of course. And thank you for bringing that strong message to the UN and to the world about the importance of women participation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would like now to ask Sarah Garcia. Hi. I will speak in English and we will have the translation. Yes, hello. You're a psychologist and you have a master's degrees in human rights advocacy, as I understand it. And you're a feminist activist and human rights defender. So honored to have you here as a panelist. You are also active in the citizens group for the decriminalization of abortion in El Salvador, as well as a member of the Central American Umbrella for Sexual and Reproductive Health and Rights.
Sí. Bueno,
what a pleasure to have you here. Yes, go ahead, please.
Muchas gracias. Gracias por esta oportunidad. Gracias a Glocal Voices por retomar las voces de las defensoras de derechos humanos de la región. Y bueno, como ya decías, hablo desde El Salvador, un país centroamericano que pues enfrenta diferentes situaciones que nos colocan a nosotras las mujeres en una situación de riesgo, ¿verdad? Y bueno, se están dando diferentes violaciones a nuestros derechos humanos. Entonces es súper importante tener esta oportunidad para contextualizar y pues poder decir un poco lo que estamos viviendo acá. Quizás poder decir que uno de los grandes retos que tenemos como país es que seguimos teniendo la penalización absoluta del aborto. Esto quiere decir que tenemos un marco normativo sumamente restrictivo, un marco normativo que no permite ni siquiera a las mujeres que enfrentan embarazos impuestos o a las mujeres que están enfrentando un sumamente restrictiva.
Oh, there we come. Yes. Please
además de esto, en nuestro país, además de esto, en nuestro país se están criminalizando a mujeres debido a la penalización absoluta del aborto. Este es otro gran obstáculo que tenemos para acceder a nuestros derechos. Las mujeres que tienen emergencias obstétricas o que tienen partos prematuros no asistidos o que tienen un aborto son denunciadas desde los hospitales públicos. Y este es el caso de Manuela, que nosotras hemos estado acompañando, de hecho, para ponerles un caso concreto. Hemos logrado que se conozca en la Corte Interamericana de Derechos Humanos la historia de Manuela, una mujer que fue denunciada por aborto, que fue denunciada por un prejuicio de género, porque eso también está muy inserto en nuestro sistema de salud y de justicia, los prejuicios de género. Pero además de esto, fue condenada a 30 años de cárcel y cuando estaba condenada a 30 años, la situación precaria del sistema carcelario, pues ella se dan cuenta que tenía un cáncer linfático y falleció. Manuela es un caso que, de hecho, el Estado salvadoreño lo hemos demandado por tratos crueles, inhumanos y degradantes, por todo lo que significó y porque es necesario justicia para Manuela y justicia para pues, sus 2 hijos que dejó en orfandad. Otro de los grandes retos que tenemos es que no hay acceso a la educación integral en sexualidad en nuestro país. Y esto pues limita en gran medida. Además de esto, es importante plantear
I think we may have lost Sarah. Okay, but yes, thank you, Sarah, for bringing up the case of Manuela and the importance of. It's very upsetting, of course, to hear of the situation in El Salvador with lack of access to sexual education, as well as this criminalization of abortion, which is really a big hinder, of course, to women to access and enjoy their rights. So thank you for bringing that up. I think we will come back to you, Sarah, more as soon as we reconnect you. For the time being, we will continue around the world. We will now move over to Natalia. I hope I have you with us, Natalia. There you are. So honored to have you with us. Natalia Torres, you're a political scientist. You're a member of the communications team of Somos un Rostro Colectivo, which translated into English, I understand it to be We Are the Collective Face. This is a Colombian platform that successfully gathers many different organizations, collectives, and individuals in public events as mobilizations, public meetings, performances of feminist organizations in Bogota. So pleased to have you with us, Natalia, and looking forward to hear a bit from your local context in Colombia and with what you are working with, what you see as the main challenges for women to enjoy their rights. Yes, please go ahead, Natalia. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I would say in Colombia we have like three main challenges for feminist organizations. The first would be war context and the frontal rejection of national government on implementing the peace agreements. That has meant for women in rural Colombia a setback to organize around the global agenda of women because they have to focus their efforts on taking care of their lives primarily, as well as on their territories. And I think that is the main setback for women's organization here. Then I think we have a lot of institutional violence because during pandemics, the national government as well as the regional governments have implemented a lot of measurements that have been a setback for women's rights. For example, we have a restriction based on the assigned gender at birth to go out or not to the streets, and that meant a lot of violence against trans women. And also meant that it was difficult for women to gather during the pandemics to organize or to have meetings because we do have like a lot of institutional violence also on the like online. So the persecution of social leaders and women like organizing themselves to fight for women's rights, it's really bad in here. So we didn't have the opportunity to meet like in person because of the pandemics, but also online there was a lot of persecution. So the institutional violence, it's certainly one of the main challenges we face here as women organization. And then I would say the cultural violence, mainly because the public opinion has set a negative status on women's right fight and on the women's right movement. So it's more difficult for women that doesn't make part of the movement already to gather with others to organize for their rights because there's like cultural rejection of the women's right movement. So we find it difficult to fight that like public opinion. And it's also really criminalized the activity to organize with others because once you organize with others, you get like this status of like rebellious or something like that. And in the context of war, that means that you get to be in danger when you get to be public with that like status. So I would say those three are the main setbacks and the main challenges in Colombia for women's rights.
Thank you, Natalia. Yeah, so some of the things coming back from the situation in Yemen with the ongoing conflict and also post-conflict and ongoing lack of peace process as you are experiencing. So yes, thank you so much for sharing that with us. We will be coming back to you in a short while. I would now like to turn to ask Bong Wong Justin from Cameroon to give us his view. You are, I don't know if you are here. Yes, I'm sure you will show up in the picture in a minute. Well, anyway, Bong Wong, you're an associate human rights officer at the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom in Cameroon. Oh, we have lost Bong Wong. Okay, so let's wait to hear from Bong Wong, and when he's back, we will get back to the question for him as soon as he has joined us back. Okay, we'll move on instead to the next question. This is, of course, the challenges of having our digital linkages between many parts of the world. But we look forward to seeing him in a bit, I'm sure. Right, we're going to move on to the second question instead, and we're going to talk about the setback for women's rights caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. So let's go back to Yemen, to Samah. Please, could you share with us a bit? I mean, you have the general setbacks, you have the general difficult humanitarian situation, which is really hindering women from enjoying their rights. But could you say a bit about the COVID-19 pandemic and how that has affected your situation?
Yes. Yeah. So Yemen is already suffering of the conflict, of the ongoing war, and COVID-19. It was addition on the head of a lot of families. A lot of families here in Yemen, they lost their job during the COVID-19. So the worst situation of the families, it becomes more and more very difficult situation for them. So the economic situation for many families in Yemen, they are suffer because of the war and because of the COVID-19, when they lost their job, when they lost their opportunity in find a job also. The health institutions also, they are very poor because of the war, and after the COVID-19 it becomes more and more lack of medicine, lack of equipment, a lot of things. The COVID-19 is spread fast. Many cases also they are not reporting, but there is a lot of cases of COVID-19 because of the lack of the service, because of the lack of reporting systems. A lot of people, they die without any reporting about them or any service for them. So it was a very difficult situation for women also to suffer from both, from the war and conflict, and also COVID-19. Students also in the schools, they cannot continue their study because the instant method of school for children, it is not available. Students here in Yemen, they used to go to school and school, but the alternative method for internet and using the online studying, it is not available in Yemen. Yemen is a very poor country, so the education institute, they don't have like these methods to continue with online studying. So the education now is damaged totally because of COVID-19. We don't know how the education will be in the coming days. because of the war, conflict, and also COVID-19. So a lot of challenge face the families in general and women in specific, who are taking care about all the family, who are taking care about how they can increase the awareness of their family and their family members and all of of need like that. That's all. Thank you.
Can I ask you, have the schools been kind of closed down now during the whole pandemic? And are they still
Yeah,
closed?
yes, no, they opened after the first one. It is opened in September, but also they back again now to close. We don't know how the students they will continue, how they can exam, and because school they don't have the system of online study.
No, I
So
understand.
we are
Yeah.
talking about so we are more than 8 million children in Yemen. They cannot have access of education now.
No.
Because of this
That's
because of this situation, a lot of girls also they get out of schools and they have early marriage, and also they don't have like this education, and education, as we all know, is protection. So because
yes.
of this closing of schools, violence also against women it is increased during a lot of army group in the city. So a lot of girls they can face gender based violence or gender also violence against women, rape, harassment, a lot of things, especially in the camp with the internal displaced women they are living, because it is a very bad places in the service. So
Yes.
all this lack of service can affect women indeed.
Yes. And I hear you saying that the whole community is, of course, affected, but women and girls are more affected than others as the
Yeah,
consequences become even higher for them.
exactly.
Yes. Thank you, Sama, for sharing this. Troubling. I will go on to speak to Sarah. Sarah? Yes, you are
Hola.
with us. Thank you. Great.
Disculpa
Now,
que me
could
sacó
you
la
tell us a
plataforma.
bit about... Okay, yeah, I'm happy you're back. Lovely
Sí.
to have you back. So now, Sarah, would you say a bit about the situation in El Salvador regarding the setback on women's rights caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, please?
Sí, por supuesto. Bueno, uno de los argumentos que nosotras posicionamos o digamos, nosotras retomamos este informe que realizó la Iniciativa Mesoamericana de Defensoras de Derechos Humanos, que dice, la crisis ya estaba aquí. Y es importante plantear que la crisis ya estaba antes incluso de esta pandemia. Es decir, la pandemia lo que ha hecho es profundizar y desnudar desigualdades, pero la crisis ya estaba aquí. Teníamos crisis en materia de la violencia contra las mujeres, crisis en materia democráticas, crisis en materia pues relacionada con la situación carcelaria, con la situación del agua, es decir, ya vivíamos en una crisis. La pandemia del COVID-19, pues sí, las ha profundizado y ha generado grandes obstáculos, sobre todo en aspectos relativos a la crisis de los cuidados que vivimos en el país. En nuestro país, en El Salvador, no hay una política de cuidados y esto pues lo hemos señalado las feministas en diferentes momentos. No hay una política que garantice el derecho a cuidar, a ser cuidado, y esta pandemia del COVID-19 pues ha colocado al centro la necesidad de los cuidados y cómo estos sobrecaen sobre los cuerpos de las mujeres y en muchos casos sobrecaen sin ningún tipo de apoyo, sin ningún tipo de respaldo o sin ninguna política que garantice que esto suceda en las mejores condiciones. Entonces, este ha sido uno de los elementos que el COVID ha colocado al centro, ¿verdad? Esta necesidad de políticas públicas que garanticen los cuidados para la ciudadanía como un elemento que sostiene la vida, pero que no puede ser solamente a cargo de las mujeres. Debe de haber una responsabilidad social, una responsabilidad de toda la sociedad para esto. Otro de los obstáculos o de las desigualdades que se desnudaron con la pandemia, que ya la veníamos teniendo, tiene que ver con la crisis del agua. Una de las primeras medidas que se plantearon era, bueno, lávense las manos, ¿verdad? Y se sigue siendo eso. En nuestro país hay una grave crisis del agua que sobrecae en mayor medida en los cuerpos de las mujeres, porque son quienes se encargan de sostener la vida en sus espacios, en sus comunidades, pero estamos aquí ante un país que no tiene y no reconoce que el agua es un derecho humano, que no ha aprobado una ley general de aguas, que hay intentos de privatización de la misma. Estamos en un país en donde hay meses enteros sin agua en las comunidades y esto al final recae sobre el cuerpo de las mujeres. Otro de los elementos que señalamos que se ha desnudado en todo el marco de la pandemia tiene que ver con la violencia contra las mujeres. Porque bueno, el quédate en casa, que fue muy sonado, ¿verdad? Y como una medida bastante importante para prevenir cualquier forma de contagio, quédate en casa. ¿Qué pasa cuando el quedarte en casa es quedarte en casa con tu agresor? Y esto es sumamente grave en nuestro país, pues hemos visto cómo solo en el 2020 se registraron 130 feminicidios en nuestro país. Además de eso, 541 mujeres desaparecidas. Otra de las realidades que se enfrentaron y que tenemos cifras del 2020 hablan de 494 embarazos y niñas de 10 a 14 años. Estamos hablando que son niñas no madres y están enfrentando esas maternidades forzadas. Luego también embarazos de niñas de 15 a 19 años se registraron 12.287. Además de eso se registraron 6.174 delitos por violencia sexual. Todo esto sucede mientras pues está nuestro país atravesando una crisis sanitaria que es sumamente grave, pero que ha colocado en mayor riesgo a las mujeres. Y no es solo porque el quédate en casa, sino que porque toda la institucionalidad dedicada a que las mujeres tengamos una vida libre de violencia se ha desmantelado en cierta forma. En nuestro caso, por ejemplo, o sea, instituciones que velaban específicamente por los derechos de las mujeres, pues se han volcado a la pandemia, se han volcado a prevenir. Por ejemplo, unidades para poner denuncias en temas de violencia sexual se volcaron a atender la pandemia. Entonces, esto también ha generado un gran obstáculo. No se diga de la crisis carcelaria. Desde nuestra organización, de hecho, presentamos un documento específico para lograr la libertad de mujeres, un habeas corpus, porque la crisis carcelaria es sumamente, se ha profundizado y que de hecho instancias como la Alta Comisionada de Naciones Unidas habló de la necesidad de descongestionar cárceles en el marco de la pandemia. Sin embargo, en El Salvador no hubo este tipo de medidas. La crisis carcelaria, y específicamente lo digo por las mujeres que están ahora mismo encarceladas, que están encarceladas por emergencias obstétricas de manera arbitraria y están enfrentando un riesgo inminente por esta crisis. Y me sumo a lo que decía la compañera, ¿verdad?, que hablaba anteriormente. A nivel educativo, seguimos sin regresar a clases. O sea, en la actualidad no tenemos clases presenciales, todo es virtual, desde la precariedad, ¿verdad? Porque al final hay una precarización de la vida y bueno, no se diga también de todos los despidos masivos que han habido con las trabajadoras de maquilas, con las bordadoras. Hay casos de mujeres que incluso están haciendo ahora mismo huelga de hambre para que puedan ser restituidos todos sus derechos laborales, pero que en este marco de pandemia, pues se les ha desechado. Entonces, eso para comentar algunos de los grandes problemas y retrocesos que hemos tenido.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing this, and very important that I mean, each and every one of these girls that become pregnant at an age between 10 and 14, that they are counted and that you are reporting it and that you are speaking out and raising the voice for all that's going on and all of the consequences of COVID-19 that are affecting women and girls even more. So thank you for speaking up on this, and I'm looking forward to hearing a bit later, but because I realize that the questions we're asking and the replies we are getting are quite heavy for all of us to hear. It's grim, and I think it will be good when we come to the third question, when we speak a bit about what we are able to do to counter this. But before that, let me invite now Natalia. I think you are with us, yes? Excellent, you're with us. So let us hear about the consequences of COVID-19 pandemic on women's rights and the setbacks in Colombia.
Well, I share a lot of what Sarah has said from the context in El Salvador. But in Colombia, well, specifically in Colombia, the economic participation for women has been one of the most affected sectors for women. According to the National Department of Statistics, 50% of women in Colombia depend on informal economics, and due to pandemics, they were not able to work and provide their families or have some sort of economic autonomy to be able to go out from abusive contexts. On the other hand, there's also a big inequity on the distribution of care work. As Sarah said, there's a lack of a social care system that thinks of the care work as something the society as a whole should take care of, and not something that is a responsibility for women. And that has meant that during pandemics, the charge of work for women that work from home has increased like 2 to 3 times, because they have to do their job but also do the care work of their homes. Many women had to take care of their home and their parents' home. So a lot of women became like care workers without even noticing, and there wasn't like an institutional answer to the care work system. So it was like individual answers. So we all have to take care of each other, but actually the state didn't give any answer, and the women were the most affected by this lack of a care work system. And the other thing I would say that was a setback for women in Colombia are the violences that meant for women to stay at home. Many of them had to be locked down with their abusers and in abusive context. And those contexts were like more abusive due to things that have to be with the pandemics. For example, as I told you before, many women lost their jobs or were unable to work because they have works on the informal economy. So they weren't able to escape this abusive context. And also there was like no answer at all from the state of these violences. When a woman reported that she was being beaten or that she was in an abusive context, the state answer was none. Specifically in Bogota, they only implemented more like attention from a line that women can call to report that, but once you call and someone takes your call and, oh yeah, you're being abused, okay, these things don't go a step further. They just inform and make a report on that, but women don't have the opportunity or a place to stay, and like non-state answer in these cases. We reported more than 680 femicides and more than 32 trans femicides during pandemics, and they are in some way related to this violent context created, or like reinforced for the pandemics. So I would say that the lack of organization and the lack of answer from the state has been one of the main setbacks, for women's rights, due to the pandemics.
Thank you, Natalia, for sharing that picture with us. And we recognize that the setbacks are quite similar in different parts of the world, and the lockdown resulting in more abuse and so on. Thank you for sharing that. I'm happy now that Bong Wong is back with us. Bong Wong Justin. Bong Wong Justin, I see. Okay, you're in the audio only now. I think there was a problem with electricity in Cameroon where you are sitting, but so welcome back, and we're looking forward to hearing your voice at least. I will start by introducing you because I think we lost you while I was introducing you last time. So you're an associate human rights officer at the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom in Cameroon. And you are working on the localization of women, peace and security agenda in the Northwest region. And you have also been part of the UN Women Empowerment Champions in 2016. So very honored to have you with us, joining us from Cameroon. And I'm very curious to hear if you could give us a picture of the main challenges facing women to access and enjoy their rights in your local context in Cameroon, as well as mention a bit about the setbacks that you see for women's rights with the COVID-19 pandemic. Is that all right, Bong Wong? Can we hear you? It seems we have lost him again. All right. Okay. That is unfortunate. Well, I hope he joins us. We get back to get a line to him soon, and he will be invited later as soon as he joins us again. Right, let's move on instead. Oh, he is coming back. Lovely. Hi, Bong Wong. So nice that you are now there. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Oh, excellent.
Very unfortunate. I'm back. It's very unfortunate. Because
it's very fortunate.
Shut down. Everything shut down.
Yeah. Yes, that's the reality. So fortunate that you are there. I think it froze. There is an issue with the electricity. Let's see. Let's give it a little bit of time to see if we can work it out. Maybe, Bong Wong, if you shut off your camera, maybe we can hear your voice. Can you hear me now, Bong Wong? If you hear me now, Bong Wong, please go ahead and speak. Right, I think we will move on and we will try getting a better connection to Bong Wong as we move ahead. So to my colleagues behind the scene, just try to keep trying, and we will instead go to question number 3. And I will again address Samah. If you are with us, I hope so.
I'm there, yes.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, I'm there.
I'm very fortunate for that. So
this is the first time that the internet is working good.
Well, we are really lucky. At least in
Yeah,
Aden,
me too.
internet is functioning. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. Me
Okay.
too. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy. So now I'm curious if you could give us a picture about how your organization has chosen to challenge gender bias and in inequalities in your local context, and also
Yes.
a bit about the impact of the work you do. If you could share that with us.
Yeah. Okay. Mawda Association for Society Development, when it started in 2011, we were working only in the development and women empowerment and youth empowerment. We had a great activities at that time in these topics. But after the war, 2015, we faced the situation in Yemen. It is not only for development, but many times we face the many challenge to work in the development in the real need of people for relief. So we have two sections in our association. So we have relief section and development section. And the relief, we try to help people and to support them by the necessary food, water, sanitations, and whatever they need in the emergency and in the crisis, or when explosions happened and like that. But in the other hand, we are working in the development. We have a lot of partnership with the international organizations, like GIZ. It is Germany. I don't know exactly. It's called the GIZ and Oxfam. And also we have a great partnership with Penal Reform International, which we worked with them for 1 year for enhance the situation of women, about justice and women. We supported a lot of prisons by by a lot of things to enhance the environment of prison, especially for the women sections. And also we supported women in prison to have the legal consultations, health consultations, a lot of things, because we believe that women in the prisons, in environment like in Yemen, it is a very difficult situation for women who mostly forced to go to like these places. So we had a lot of things to do for women in Yemen, in the section of development. Also, we had a lot of awareness sessions for women about how they can know their rights, how we can advocate issues. Journalists, we had a lot of training for journalists about how can they raise their voice, how they make a lot of advocacy messages through the radio and through the TV programs also. The association is also a member in Women and Justice Network, which it is already supported from the UN Women here in Yemen. So we are trying a lot to work in this difficult situation, because we cannot stop, we cannot stay without doing anything. And also, this is our mission for our society in Yemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Sama. That's encouraging to hear about your work and how you have been able to shift with the situation and adding humanitarian work to your agenda when the needs have arisen, and still keeping your development work and assisting women to get their legal rights, as well as informing and advocating with journalists and others. That's very encouraging to hear. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for your important work, most of all.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we are looking to work also in the in the assessment, in the also, because we find the society there is no sources for studies that show mentions about rates about like this, but this is we are planning for it in this year 2021. If we can find a good partnership with any of the international organizations, so the studies who has accurate numbers and reports that show the numbers, the violence of women, violence against women, and also how we can support women to involve in the government and in the negotiation and like that. So still we don't have any study until now, but this is our plan also for the next time.
That's very interesting, and it's powerful with statistics, as we heard from your colleagues from the other parts of the world, or the other panelists. So yes, that sounds very interesting. If you are able to do studies and gather statistics to actually show.
a lot of our members, they have PhD in development, in English language, in a lot of things. But it will be if we can find a partnership, so it will be completing project, and it will have accurate numbers and accurate things, so we can show it to the world in motion. For example, also we are looking to have a study about how we can reintegrate women in prison, how we can help them after they from the prison. Also, how we can support them in a society like Yemen. The society like Yemen, it is not accept the woman after she come out of the prison. So she lost her job, her family, her everything.
Thank you, Saman. Thank you for sharing these ambitions. They're encouraging to hear. Sorry for the delay in the internet. Okay, we're going to move on to Sarah and El Salvador to hear a bit from you about what your organization has chosen to do to challenge gender bias and inequalities, and also a little bit, if you can share with us about the impact as you see it of your work. Sarah, go ahead. Sarah, I think you're muted.
Ay, perdón, hoy sí.
Go ahead.
Bueno, quizás partir de la organización de la cual yo formo parte, la Agrupación Ciudadana por la Despenalización del Aborto, que es desde donde estamos tratando de desmontar todas estas desigualdades, inequidades que se dan en nuestro contexto, ¿verdad? Y bueno, decir que nuestra organización tiene 3 grandes líneas de trabajo. Una de ellas es el acompañamiento a mujeres que han sido criminalizadas debido a la penalización absoluta del aborto. Buscamos la libertad de mujeres que están injustamente en prisión. Luego, la otra gran línea de trabajo tiene que ver con el cambio de imaginarios sociales. Nos parece que es fundamental construir narrativas liberadoras, narrativas que quiten el estigma que está tan arraigado en nuestra sociedad, los prejuicios de género, es decir, hablar de los derechos sexuales, derechos reproductivos, desde un enfoque y desde un marco de derechos humanos que permita conectar también con otras personas. Y luego, la tercer gran línea de trabajo tiene que ver con el cambio en la legislación. Lo que pasa es que El Salvador tiene un marco normativo restrictivo, penaliza el aborto en todas sus formas, y entonces una de las luchas tiene que ver con la incidencia política, incidencia que hacemos en diferentes espacios a nivel de la Asamblea, a nivel de la Asamblea Legislativa me refiero, y a nivel de otras instancias. Quizás comentar que uno de los esfuerzos que a mí me parece bastante importante de mencionar, porque ha sido muy transversal de nuestro trabajo, tiene que ver con los litigios estratégicos. Es decir, cómo a partir de la historia concreta de una mujer, del dolor concreto y de la búsqueda de justicia, se puede hablar y se puede conectar con un hecho sistemático. Creo que esto ha sido un componente muy importante de nuestro trabajo, desde la campaña que hemos impulsado de Libertad para las 17 hasta el caso de Manuela, que les comentaba al inicio. Estamos hablando de casos concretos de mujeres que conectan con una realidad sistemática. En el caso de Manuela, que estamos trabajándolo desde el 2011 y que ahora, el día de ayer, de hecho, estuvimos en la audiencia en la Corte Interamericana de Derechos Humanos. Estamos hablando de luchas de largo aliento, pero que traen al centro como la desigualdad estructural, la desigualdad interseccional, es decir, el ser mujer, el ser joven, el vivir en situación de pobreza, el ser de una zona rural, el ser una mujer que no ha tenido acceso al sistema educativo, cómo eso confluye y se intersecciona para profundizar todas las opresiones que viven las mujeres en el país. Con el caso de Manuela, que llegó a la Corte Interamericana, que es una estrategia que nosotras realmente pensamos que contribuye no solo para el caso de Manuela, es decir, la búsqueda es por la justicia y por la reparación para la familia. Es porque el Estado salvadoreño pueda generar medidas de no repetición, que pueda garantizar el secreto profesional, que pueda revisar su legislación que penaliza el aborto de manera absoluta. Pero también otro de los elementos que se busca es que a nivel de la región impacta, a nivel de toda Latinoamérica, incluso también a nivel global, ¿verdad? Que podamos retomar esta experiencia salvadoreña de litigio y de incidencia para avanzar en derechos humanos. Creo que el caso de Manuela, nosotros decimos que Manuela es justicia y esperanza, porque abre caminos para la transformación, abre caminos de esperanza para que pueda haber justicia para Manuela, pero también para las mujeres que ahora mismo están en la cárcel injustamente debido a una emergencia obstétrica. Esa es como una de las estrategias que a mí me gustaría compartirles. También en el marco de la pandemia, pues surgieron otras estrategias, el componente humanitario se instaló, ¿verdad? Y movimos muchas acciones de solidaridad, es decir, hicimos campañas para recolectar víveres para las mujeres que están en las cárceles, para las mujeres, para las defensoras de derechos humanos, sobre todo por la misma precarización de la vida y la precarización económica. Creo que la solidaridad ha sido un componente fundamental en el marco de estas crisis que estamos viviendo, y creo que con la solidaridad es que hemos logrado pues tejer entre nosotras. Además de esto, pues en el marco de la pandemia, para comentar un poco en este sentido, implementamos líneas de atención para mujeres que enfrentan violencia, y esto un poco para asesorar, para buscar apoyos, para ver cómo acuerpamos y cómo nos acuerpamos. Además de esto, la denuncia que creo yo que de las organizaciones feministas tenemos esa mirada, pues esa mirada crítica a lo que está sucediendo, y en el caso de El Salvador así ha sido, por ejemplo, ante los diferentes abusos de poder que han habido en nuestro país. Es importante mencionar, que no lo coloqué antes, pero la militarización que vivimos, la militarización de nuestras vidas, de lo cotidiano, de la pandemia, de todo, eso está generando grandes retrocesos. Y las feministas hemos sido las que denunciamos, las que colocamos el tema en la agenda, incluso con campañas de comunicación en redes sociales, pero también con acciones de calle que hemos sostenido en el marco de la pandemia, por ejemplo, para denunciar lo que está pasando, para denunciar todos estos retrocesos de derechos humanos que también pues ha tenido una consecuencia, ¿verdad? Porque hemos enfrentado ataques a defensoras de derechos humanos, se han registrado ataques a periodistas. Entonces, todo esto, pues creo yo que al final, todas estas acciones que hemos implementado, desde los litigios estratégicos, desde la lucha por la justicia para el caso de Manuela, pero también los acompañamientos que damos, específicamente a las mujeres que viven en situación de violencia, pues la solidaridad que se ha movido, luego también todas las campañas para cambiar imaginarios. Creo que esto ha hecho un cambio en la sociedad. Es decir, nosotras como movimiento feminista vamos sintiendo el apoyo y el respaldo, y también pues esta marcha que hubo el 8 de marzo un poco indicó esto. Fuimos a las calles con todas las medidas de bioseguridad, pero fuimos a las calles para poder exigir nuestros derechos y para poder decir que no vamos a permitir que se siga retrocediendo más, y que estamos luchando por nuestras vidas, por nuestros cuerpos, por nuestros territorios. Entonces, creo que la organización y la solidaridad es la respuesta que ha tenido todo este trabajo. Y bueno, también los procesos, ¿verdad?, que hemos logrado. El mismo caso de Manuela, que haya llegado a la Corte Interamericana, es un resultado enorme para nosotras. Ahora estamos a la espera de ese fallo. El fallo lo vamos a recibir en el segundo semestre, que nosotras esperamos que sea favorable y que pueda ser favorable para todas las mujeres salvadoreñas y de la región latinoamericana.
Sarah, thank you for sharing this with us. And it's very encouraging to hear of the important work you're doing in your organization with strategic litigation, with raising your voice, empowering women and supporting women as they are, in order for them to raise their voices and claim their rights. So thank you for sharing this with us, and congratulations to the work you're doing.
Gracias.
Now see, can you hear me there? Yes, you can. I think this is only someone that is not being able to hear me. Bong Wong, are you with us? Can you hear me? I think that might be difficult. We'll wait a bit for that. I think it should be working now, the connection. But before we go, oh, he's gone again. No luck today. Natalia, I hope you are with us. Yes, thank you. Good that you're with us, Natalia. I'm happy for that. So can we hear a bit from you about your organization and how your organization has chosen to challenge gender bias and inequalities in Colombia, and also a bit about the impact that you're having as you see it?
Okay. I would like to highlight first that during
you're muted. Sorry.
Wait. Now?
Not yet.
Oh my.
Maybe at the bottom of your screen, I have at least a mute and a stop cam and so on.
I already.
It's me. Okay, so the others can hear you, but not me. So go ahead, Natalia. I'll try to read your lips.
Okay. Well, I would like to highlight first that women were the ones who reacted the fastest in front of the pandemic, and new forms of organization were created to help each other, where there were new groups giving out food, assisting women in abusive contexts, providing mental health care for free, also legal advice for women, and like the reaction of women were really fast in general here in Colombia during the pandemics. And in specific for my organization, or the organization I make part of, as I told you before, one of the main challenges here for women is to be able to connect with other women and to organize like in political processes, because of the like recrimination we have on women organization. due to the war context, but also to the persecution context we have from the state to any form of organization in Colombia, and especially for women movement. So I would say one of the things that are more important for me as an activist is to being able to create networks with other women outside Bogota, because as Ingrid said before when she introduced me, we are a collective phase, uh, only works in Bogota, but we created a national network from of feminist platforms in different regions of the country that is called National Feminist Explosion. You can see here my, I don't know if you can see it, but we created this national network for women to gather around the organization of actions of mobilization. We created this for the 25th of November of last year. More than 30 regions participated, and these were regions where women don't have like this like normative notion of feminism. They just work for the women. They don't call themselves feminists, but they do feminist work. And we have like 3 statements on the organization that you can see it here as well. Well, maybe not, but yeah, here we work on the memory of all the women that have died and that have been killed for the state or for the patriarchal violences. We work with dignity because we believe that women, and especially women that work in the care work system, deserve dignity in their work and deserve better rights and better access to the rights we already have. And we work with freedom because, as I told you before, we are in a really like violent context, and men, so often we don't have like the opportunity to connect with other women. So for me, the most important part of being part of a women organization is to be able to tell others that they are not alone, and that they can find a space to gather with others and to think of different possibilities. We create um, like a special group to make mobilizations, because that's the most visible part of the work we do. Like when we do these massive mobilizations on the 8th of March, we made a huge mobilization, which was surprising even for us that were organizing the mobilization, because we were in a pandemic. This is one of the peaks. People is like they don't want to be related to the feminist movement, but even though many women get out to the streets to fight for their rights, and that was like really surprising for us. But I think the most important part is that we are creating networks of human rights defenders all over the country, and we can easily connect with others to promote the advocacy for women rights. And well, I would say that the biggest impact is to be able to tell others they are not alone, and that they can create networks with other women to fight for their rights. And I think that that's what we have done for the past 3 years. And we have created a space, as a safe space for women to gather and to, I think, create alternative forms of power, because we don't depend on the state or on any organization's funds to make any of the mobilizations we do. We make like, we based our actions on solidarity, and the work of all of us counts on the creation of the platform. So for me, that's the most valuable thing of our work. And I would encourage more women, especially in Colombia, but all over the world, to create networks with other women to fight for their rights and to find like sisters in the road to fight for the rights. And I would encourage more women, especially in Colombia, to fight for the right. And I would encourage more women, especially in Colombia.
Thank you, Natalia. I'm sorry about the sound. I was listening on another device to hear you, so sorry for the delay. Thank you so much for sharing this. Memory, dignity, and freedom. I think those are great leading words that you have in your organization, and the creating of networks for human rights defenders all across the country. Encouraging, and congratulations to your important work. I'm going to allow now. I want to inform you that unfortunately Bong Wong's connection in Cameroon did not work out. So we hope to have him in another Glocal Voices sometime in the future. But from today, we will not be hearing from Cameroon, unfortunately. But we are so happy with Natalia, Sarah, and Samah, who have been sharing with us. And I want to now give the floor to any of you to be able to ask questions to each other. I'm going to let one of you start. Who would like to start by asking a question? Anyone wanting to start to ask one of the other panelists a question, that is? You can raise your hand in the picture if you would like to be first. Natalia, please go ahead and pose a question to one of your fellow panelists.
Yo no me bajé Interfy, pero le quiero preguntar a Sara, entonces voy a hablar en español. Si de repente puedo repetirla en inglés como si hace falta, por lo que no me bajé el programa. Pero digamos que escuchándote, pues pienso que tenemos como muchas similitudes de pronto en el contexto político en el que se mueven las organizaciones y un poco, sí que hay redes como ya un poco más establecidas en términos de derechos de salud sexual y reproductiva, o en términos como de apoyos jurídicos y cosas así. Pero digamos que son cosas que están un poco más oficiales o que ya llevan un poco más de tiempo. Creo que esa es una también de las ventajas de América Latina, de tener contextos tan similares a pesar de sus particularidades en cada contexto. Pero digamos que escuchándote me surge mucho la pregunta en términos de organización, de cuáles son precisamente los desafíos para articularse entre distintas organizaciones, como digamos, por todos los desafíos que supone estar en un contexto de violencia política tan intrínseca como en El Salvador, y qué estrategias han utilizado ustedes para poder, digamos, encontrarse y poder crear esas redes entre ustedes como para seguir amplificando o magnificando el trabajo que hacen.
Contesta ahorita o... Sí. Bueno, gracias, querida, por esa pregunta. Y bueno, también yo cuando te escuchaba es como, bueno, El Salvador, ¿verdad? O sea, tenemos a nivel de Latinoamérica veo tantos puntos de coincidencia, ¿verdad? Y creo que, no sé, quizás otro elemento que nosotras enfrentamos como defensoras, que aparte del Estado, de los gobiernos, ¿verdad? De los ataques específicos por nuestra labor, también es importante mencionar en torno a las que defendemos derechos sexuales y derechos reproductivos, que defendemos la despenalización del aborto, también nos enfrentamos con ataques, con amenazas y con, bueno, amenazas de diferentes tipos, ¿verdad? de los grupos antiderechos o de los grupos más conservadores o que tienen una perspectiva muy, muy ligada con las jerarquías de la Iglesia Católica. En ese sentido, por ejemplo, es importante decir que la labor de defensora de derechos sexuales y derechos reproductivos, pues sí atraviesa por muchos estigmas, atraviesa por ejemplo, nosotras encontrábamos que esto pues generaba censura, incluso autocensura por el miedo a ser criminalizada. Esto específicamente, nosotras hemos enfrentado ataques muy directos que se hacen llamados de que estamos haciendo apología del delito, que estamos promoviendo una agrupación ilícita, es decir, todo esto también nos encontramos, aparte de lo que los gobiernos puedan reprimir con sus diferentes formas, también los grupos antiderechos pues generan toda esta forma de violencia, estigmatización, en donde nombrarse como feminista que lucha por la despenalización del aborto también tiene costos que son políticos en una sociedad tan conservadora como la salvadoreña, y que creo yo que estos costos de alguna manera pues se van, no sé si la palabra es superar, pero vamos tratando de acuerparnos, es decir, cuando vemos la perspectiva más regional de esta lucha, cuando vemos que no estamos solas en esta lucha, que bueno, estamos aquí nosotras luchando porque se despenalice el aborto, por nuestras vidas, porque libertad para las mujeres que están criminalizadas debido a emergencias obstétricas, estamos aquí, pero hay toda una comunidad internacional de compañeras feministas que están también pendientes. Lo vimos ayer, por ejemplo, con el caso de Manuela. Nosotras pues hemos enfrentado muchos ataques en relación a esto, pero se activó a nivel de redes, a nivel de diferentes instancias, pues estas redes de apoyo, de solidaridad que iban construyendo otra narrativa que de alguna manera genera protección para el trabajo que hacemos. Creo que sigue siendo difícil organizarnos en estos contextos y que vamos aprendiendo mucho de otras experiencias. Aquí mismo, la situación de la pandemia ha generado también otros obstáculos, ¿verdad? Teníamos previsto para el año pasado realizar el encuentro feminista de América Latina y el Caribe, el ELFLAC, por ejemplo, que es un encuentro muy importante para nuestra región, que nos iba a posibilitar mucho más espacio para organizarnos. Sin embargo, por la pandemia fue imposible realizarlo el año pasado y se ha pospuesto. Esperamos que para este año, pero todavía hay incertidumbre en torno a esto y creo que sí ha sido complicado, pero respaldarnos y acuerparnos ante los diferentes ataques ha sido muy importante. Y aquí hay una experiencia que se llama Iniciativa Mesoamericana de Defensoras de Derechos Humanos, específicamente en El Salvador, la Red Salvadoreña de Defensoras de Derechos Humanos, creo que ha funcionado como un espacio que ante los ataques responden, es decir, si hay algún tipo de ataque a una defensora, lanzan una alerta, buscan solidaridad, si de repente hay una defensora que está en riesgo, se generan medidas de protección integral, es decir, esto me parece que es fundamental, que existan estos espacios de defensoras de derechos humanos que buscan no solo politizar el autocuidado feminista, ¿verdad?, para sostener nuestras luchas, sino que también, pues, generar medidas de protección integral para nosotras desde la perspectiva feminista y pues construir redes que puedan accionar ante las alertas de los diferentes casos de defensoras que estamos en riesgo. No sé si logro contestar un poquito.
Thank you for that, Sarah, for answering Natalia's question. Do you, Samah, or do you, Sarah, have any question for the other panelists? If you do, please go ahead. Otherwise, we have some questions coming from the general public as well. Samah, I think you might have one. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, it is not exactly question, but it is a call. You know, Without peace in Yemen, we cannot find our rights as a woman. We cannot find women empowerment. We cannot.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, it is not exactly question, but it is a call. Hello? Hello, do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yo no te escuché la pregunta. O bueno, el comentario, porque es un comentario, entiendo, ¿no?
You hear me?
Sí, hoy sí. Sí.
Yo
no te escuché la pregunta. Es un comentario.
Hello?
You hear me?
Voice is breaking.
Sí, hoy sí.
Okay. Okay, from this place, I call for peace for Yemen. I call for everybody have a pressure on the international community to pressure toward the peace, because without peace in Yemen, women they cannot find their rights. Women they cannot find any empowerment here in this conflict situation. So, peace for Yemen is very important, and also engagement women in the peace process, negotiation, and all the peace process inside Yemen or outside Yemen is very, very important. So we hope that our voice as Yemeni women it arrive, and we hope that all the countries that have yeah, pressure they can do it for our rights.
Thank you, Sama. I'm afraid that
Okay.
the sound went wrong somewhere, so I didn't hear you, unfortunately. I'm sorry for that. I was listening on the other device, but then there was an echo. So sorry, everyone. I think I hope that Sarah and Natalia heard you, and I think Sarah wants to say something. Please go ahead, Sarah.
No, solo preguntarle a Sama, bueno, si hay que nos pueda, porque estos espacios son tan importantes para justo conectar con otras realidades y pues con otras luchas, o sea, lo que vos estás viviendo, la lucha por la paz. También me conecta mucho porque en El Salvador, pues vivimos un conflicto armado en los años 80 y de hecho firmamos unos acuerdos de paz muy recientemente, en 1992. Y bueno, me conecta mucho porque toda la guerra que vivió nuestro país fue muy dolorosa, generó más de 75,000 personas asesinadas, generó mucho dolor para todas. Y esta lucha por la paz, de veras que me conecta con la realidad que está viviendo y creo que, bueno, también Colombia ha tenido un proceso de paz, creo que estamos aquí como, no sé, estos países que han tenido y que tienen una lucha fuerte por la paz. Bueno, y quizás preguntarte, ¿verdad? Si nos podés compartir algún espacio, algún comunicado, algo que nosotras podamos difundir en nuestros países, que pueda ser, o si hay alguna petición en línea o hay alguna manera más que podamos respaldar, aparte de dar a conocerlo, ¿verdad? Lo que se está viviendo, pero sí creo que es importante pues unirnos en estos procesos de paz en donde los derechos de las mujeres, pues hasta no conseguir la paz, es bien difícil que se puedan concretar, incluso ya en la paz, porque nosotras pues también lo hemos vivido en El Salvador, se firmaron los acuerdos de paz y los derechos de las mujeres siguen siendo considerados como, seguimos siendo consideradas como ciudadanas de segunda, ¿verdad? Aún teniendo la paz, pero sí nos gustaría pues que nos puedas mandar ya sea comunicados o algún sitio para también ampliar las voces y que en El Salvador se conozca pues de toda la lucha que ustedes están haciendo.
Sama, did you get the question?
You know, I don't have the translation. Can you give me it in conclusion?
I'm afraid I don't hear you, Sama. So
No, I
let's
don't
see
have the
what's going on.
translation.
I think that what Sarah was saying is that she feels like a lot what you are talking about this war context, because El Salvador went through like a conflict during the 80s, and they went over peace agreements on the 92, and even though they went on these peace agreements, the women rights are always like on the second level of the agenda, and women are still considered like second category citizens. And I think Sarah asked you to share with her some things that she can share in El Salvador about your fight as women, not just for women rights, but as well as for peace. And if you can share some information with her or some things that you would like to share with her, so we can post that and amplify your fight for women's rights as well as for peace.
Yes, you know, Yemen, they sign about a lot of peace agreements and also CEDAW, a lot of human rights resolutions, 1325, a lot of things. But in this conflict situation, the government is always ignoring involve women in the negotiation committees, and also in the participation of negotiation inside Yemen or outside Yemen. They believe it is not the time now for women; it is the time now for men only. So gender equality is not available now in Yemen because in the war, because of the, you know, they see that there is any person who can monitor the process of the government now. So we are fighting for our rights. We are not silent. We are also always call for participation, for decision making power. But in this time, we feel that without any UN pressure or outside the countries who can always contribute in like this negotiation. So without support of them, we cannot find our rights that we can get it. So after the peace process will be okay and Yemen will be peace. So I think we have a lot of things to pressure about on our government. So yeah, I'm pleased to share with you all our experience here in Yemen, and we hope to also it will not be the last meeting today, and I would like to have another also meeting to share experience, and that will support us so much in how we can deal with like this complicated situation of war and poverty and lack of rights, lack of participation of women, gender inequality, a lot of things here in Yemen. So much in how we can deal with like this complicated.
Thank you, Sama. And thank you, Natalia, for helping out when I have lost the sound. I don't hear you except for the translation, I'm afraid. But thank you so much. What a powerful panel that saves the situation. So we're going to end up with one question from the general public. We are running out of time. Sorry for the slight delay due to the technical issues. And the question is from Daniela, who is listening to this webinar, and it's for Natalia. So the question is, do you work within an intersectional feminist perspective? And how have you managed to articulate the work with trans women and women with disabilities? Natalia, for you to reply.
Okay, thank you, Daniela, for the question. We do work with an intersectional perspective. in Colombia, and especially in Bogota, we have had a setback on the feminist movement because we've been dealing with some separative movements that call themselves radical feminists, and they state that trans women are not the subject of feminism and that they cannot take part on our mobilizations. So we, as an organization, will take care of this perspective because we do believe that trans women are like vital on the feminist fight. So we have worked with the Red Comunitaria Trans, which is one of the biggest organizations led by trans women that help women, like help trans women, and especially women who are sex workers. They make a lot of work with them, and they have worked with us. They make part of our network, and they collaborate organizing the mobilizations. And because of this setback that has other radical feminist groups, we have to take care, not take care, but take into account that there is a risk for trans women when they participate on feminist mobilizations. So, for example, in this past 8th of March mobilization, we created like strategies to protect trans women for these radical feminist, self-called radical feminists that exclude trans women from feminist mobilization. And they are part of the organization. We include or all of the like calls they make for the society to protect themselves. We count all the trans feminicides as femicides for us. And I think Daniela also asked something about women with disabilities. And this time, the mobilization of the 8th of March was headed by a collective of women with disabilities. They were on wheelchair and they have their company so they can head the mobilization. Because for us, the feminism has to be like against all forms of oppression, and certainly women with disability face more oppressions than women that doesn't have disabilities. And we understand disabilities like in a wide range, not only like the physical disabilities but also the mental disabilities. Because here in Colombia is something that the public health system doesn't take care of it. So we think that we have to work with all women, trans women, Afro women, every women, and to make more powerful our network.
Thank you, Natalia, for responding to the viewer's question. As we had a bit of a technical issue there, we have one last question from the public, and I hope that those of you who have time to stay with us will stay and listen to that. So let me see the question here. It's for Sama, and it is that the question is, what have women been doing from their local context to contribute to the peace process in Yemen? That's Valeria asking Sama.
Yeah, women here in Yemen, they are trying to participate and advocate in the suggestions for peace building, and a lot of peace building programs in the local communities has been done by women who are exactly chairwomen of local associations here in Yemen. So when the women participate in the negotiation or in the peace process, they have a lot of view about how we can move to the process, how we can move to the peace in the next time of Yemen.
Thank you so much, Sama, for replying to that answer. I'm going to wrap up now here, and I want to thank our very committed and interesting and knowledgeable panelists, Sarah, Natalia, and Sama, for sharing with us and for answering our questions and for giving us inspiration in the work going forward. I hope that all of you that have joined us have both learned and gotten inspired and gotten new thoughts for your own work. And I just to let you know that this has, of course, been recorded. You can watch it on Forum Civ's YouTube channel if you want to watch it again, or if you want to give someone who wasn't able to watch this idea to watch it later. So thank you so much to our panelists. We are very honored and happy that you joined us. Thank you to our viewers, and we hope to see you again at another Glocal Voices in the future.
Muchas gracias.
Also, the comment section, all those that have commented, we want to praise them as well for being active during this whole webinar. So thank you so much, and take care. Bye-bye.
Adiós.